AI is coming. We know that. And the workers who will continue to thrive are those who can do what AI cannot do. They can apply human judgment, be creative, and can bring relationship skills to their work. So instead of worrying about your job security, think about how you can make yourself indispensable and irreplaceable by consistently adding more value to your organization, your team, and your work product. The people who are adding real value are becoming more valuable, not less. Welcome. You're listening to This Leader, the podcast. If you lead people and are seeking the transformational, high-impact secrets that will lead to greater joy and fulfillment in your work, will optimize your team performance, and will help you create a happy, highly productive workplace, then you are this leader and you're in the right place. I'm your host, Claire Laughlin, and each week my guests and I will explore the mindsets, techniques, and actionable strategies that will help you build the career, team, and organization of your dreams. Because I believe no one should have to suffer in a dysfunctional workplace. Let's get started. Hi, I'm so glad you're here. Today I want to talk about something that's been on a lot of minds lately: job security. Maybe you've been hearing the conversations about AI or seeing budget cuts in the news or just feeling that general sense of uncertainty that seems to be everywhere lately. A Forbes survey found that 77% of people are concerned that AI will cause job loss within the next 12 months. And it's not just AI. By 2030, 30% of current US jobs could be fully automated, while 60% will see significant task-level changes. But here's what I need you to know, and this is really important. Wages are actually rising twice as quickly in industries most exposed to AI compared to those least exposed. So if your industry is starting to incorporate AI in any significant way, your wages could be on the rise if you stay ahead of the game. Bottom line is, the people who are adding real value are becoming more valuable, not less. So instead of worrying about your job security, let's talk about how you can make yourself absolutely indispensable and irreplaceable by consistently adding more value to your organization, your team, and your work product. Because here's the truth: the more value you add, the more valuable you become. Okay? And this brings me to something else that's happening right now. Employee engagement in the US fell to its lowest level in a decade in 2024, with only 31% of employees being engaged. So disengaged employees cost the global economy $8.8 trillion in lost productivity in 2024. But you know what? This creates an incredible opportunity for those of us who are willing to show up differently. When 70% of people are just going through the emotions, imagine how much you can stand out by bringing your best. I mean, if the bar is low, let's jump over it. You've heard me say this before. I aim to build happy and highly productive workplaces, and we can't really do that unless we're each individually willing to work toward building better workplaces together. So for you as an individual, it means you bringing your best to work and finding ways to make a real impact. So today, I want to talk about 4 core strategies that are going to help you add immediate value, build your credibility, and position yourself as the leader your organization can't afford to lose. All right, strategy number 1, understand your personal values. Look, I'm going to do an entire episode on this just a little bit later in September, in just a couple of weeks. And I have a short course coming that I'm going to offer to you, my podcast listeners, at a very special price. But I want to give you the foundation here because knowing your values is critical. When you understand your personal values, it helps you live in alignment with what matters most to you. And that makes a lot of other things easier. It makes decision-making easier, it improves your relationships, and it leads to greater credibility among those who look to you for leadership. So here's an example. I want you to imagine a leader. Today, I don't know, we're going to call her Kate. Okay. And Kate is juggling family and work, and she's trying to take care of herself and stay ahead of the game. Let's say Kate knows her values, and her values include growth, integrity, and making a meaningful impact. When she knows that these are her core values, every decision becomes clearer. Like, for example, should she take on that extra project that conflicts with family time? Well, she can weigh that against her values. Should she emphasize making a meaningful impact or family? She can make that choice with much more clarity because she knows her values. Should Kate speak up in a difficult meeting or with a difficult colleague? Well, her value of integrity will give her the answer. So here are some key prompts to help you uncover your values right away. And I want you to get started on this even before we have our episode. First, consider your peak experiences. Think of a time when you felt completely fulfilled at work. What made that experience significant? What values were present? For example, maybe you had a really peak team experience that shows you just how much you deeply value collaboration. Or maybe you were able to get a project over the finish line, and that feeling, that may mean that you value accomplishment. Okay? Think about your hard decisions. Remember a difficult choice that you made that you felt really good about afterwards. Something that was hard at the time, but it worked out. What was it that helped you feel clear about the right path? What informed your choices? Your values are hidden in there. Okay? Here's another question. Think about those people who inspire you. What positive traits do you admire in those folks? Those traits often reflect your own values. And finally, imagine some of your triggers. What makes you frustrated or even angry? Often, our triggers reveal our values being violated. Okay? So take some time to reflect. Make yourself some notes and come up with some key words, because when you're clear on your values, you'll make decisions faster, you'll be more consistent, and people begin to trust your judgment. You become someone that others will look to for guidance. Okay, strategy number 2, work from your strengths. When you work in your strengths, everything flows better. You tend to gravitate toward work that aligns with your strengths, so you get better faster. And you're usually interested in things where you can apply your strengths, so you seek additional knowledge in those areas. For example, if one of my strengths is relating to people, I naturally seek out opportunities to work in teams, to understand team dynamics, and to deepen my knowledge of human nature. If one of my strengths is solving problems, I might gravitate towards situations where there's challenges to tackle, and I probably equip myself with tools that help me solve problems in lots of different ways. When you start with a natural talent and then you add experience and learning, voila, you are now working with a strength. So here's what I want you to reflect on. What have you always enjoyed doing? What have others consistently told you that you're good at? And what kind of work gets you completely in the zone where time just disappears? Those 3 questions are going to lead you to some really good answers about what your strengths might be. And here's why this matters so much right now. AI is coming. We know that. And the workers who will continue to thrive are those who can do what AI cannot do. They can apply human judgment. They can be creative, and they can bring relationship skills to their work. So next week, we're going to dive deep into strengths, and I'm going to share the assessment that I use with my clients and give you some specific strategies for restructuring your role around your natural gifts. This is honestly game-changing. I can't wait. Please join me next week for sure. Okay, strategy number 3. I want you to master meeting design and facilitation. This might surprise you, but knowing how to move people toward a goal and keep them engaged is absolutely key to adding value. How many meetings have you been in where you were bored to death, or it could have been an email, or no decisions are actually made and it's just sort of report outs with little meaningful interaction? With only 31% of employees engaged at work, Most of your meetings are filled with disengaged people who are just going through the motions, just phoning it in, my friends. So, this is your opportunity to shine. Being able to design and run a good meeting is a skill that will never let you down. So, here's a few tips to keep in mind. First, clarify your purpose. Why are you meeting? Specifically, what will people leave your meeting with? Right? Will you make a decision? Will they leave with the answer? Will they leave with a decision? Right? Will you share information so they will leave with more information or inspiration? Will you solve a problem? Will you build a plan? Each of these purposes requires a different kind of conversation. So make your purpose crystal clear. Ask yourself, what do I want people to leave with at the end of our time together? Second, apply a process that delivers results. I mean, if you're making a decision, make sure you've gathered the right information in advance and the decision makers are in the room and you have enough time for meaningful conversation. Use a clear decision-making process and confirm what it is that you're deciding. Okay? Many people are good at listing meeting topics and structuring discussion. It's discussion, discussion, discussion. Very few are really good at defining the purpose and implementing an interesting and engaging process that achieves that purpose in the right way. Okay? Finally, I want you to consider the people who will be coming to the meeting. Are there power differentials among them? You'll need to neutralize those if you want everyone engaged. Otherwise, everyone will wait for, the higher ups in the room to give their opinions. And then they probably just follow along. And this doesn't lead to a balanced process and it doesn't deliver the best result. Also consider this. Do you have introverts and extroverts? I'll bet you do. Be sure everyone has a way to contribute comfortably. Some people feel comfortable speaking up in front of their peers in meetings. Others just prefer to write or work in pairs. Mix it up so everyone has a chance to contribute. How about this one? Is there conflict between group members? Will there be simmering hostility all through your meeting? If so, set ground rules up front so people interact respectfully. Okay? When you become the person who runs meetings that people actually want to attend, meetings where things get done and people feel heard and you move things forward, you become invaluable. Trust me on this one. Strategy number 4, master the art of prioritization. We all spend way too much time on low priority activities, right? I mean, just today, I caught myself just organizing my desk when I should have been writing a client proposal. Now, we all need brain breaks, that's true, but I could have used those few minutes to capture some ideas on paper. And now I'll be working on it tonight while my family watches a movie, and I hate missing out on that. So I want you to pay attention to which of your activities are truly moving the needle. Ask yourself, how am I measured? What comes up in your annual review that you could be paying attention to now? What were some of your annual goals? Remember those? Get to work on those. Accomplish more than your peers if you really want to add value. Here's another question. What is urgent for you or for those who depend on you? How can you help? Anticipating others' needs? Oh, that's good. That's a real differentiator. Also, ask what's coming down the pike that you could be preparing for? What trends? What presentations? What deadlines? What milestones? Get ahead of the big work. And finally, what should you be learning that can make your job and your team members' jobs easier? Get a learning plan in place and make it happen. Even 10 minutes or 15 minutes a day will make a huge difference. Share your insights with team members because, as they say, a rising tide lifts all ships. And then, and this is crucial, prioritize those activities on your calendar. Whatever you discover, asking yourself those questions like, how am I measured and what's urgent for you or those who depend on you, what's coming down the pike and what should you be learning? Whatever you discover, Put those things on your calendar. Make appointments with yourself to work on these high impact projects and activities, and don't miss those appointments. Don't only do this for urgent, last minute activities, the things that are now emergencies because we failed to do proper planning. Put time on your calendar for activities that will help you avoid future emergencies. It's critical. For example, if you know your team struggles with a particular process every quarter, don't wait until the next quarter crisis hits. Schedule time now to document a better process, train your team, and create templates. That's the kind of forward thinking that makes you indispensable. Okay, so here's what I want you to do this week. 1, take 15 minutes to identify your top 3 values using the questions I shared. They're listed in the show notes for you. 2, notice your strengths. Pay attention to when you feel most energized and effective at work. That is important information. 3, volunteer to facilitate the next team meeting and apply one of the strategies I mentioned. Even if you simply get crystal clear on the purpose and stay true to that, you'll be making a positive difference. 4, block time on your calendar for one high-impact activity that you might normally push until later. Okay, getting ahead of those things is really imperative. And 5, subscribe to this podcast if you haven't done so yet, because we are going deeper into each of these areas and so many more that will help you add tremendous value and be a better leader. Remember, in an economy where employee engagement has hit a 10-year low and where people are concerned about job reductions, being someone who consistently adds value isn't just smart, it's essential. The more value you add, the more valuable you are. Always be thinking about how you can add more value, and you'll build a skill set that will take you anywhere you want to go. Once again, we're going to explore each of these topics in more depth over the next few weeks. Next week, we're diving into strengths. I'll share the assessment that's transformed how I work with my clients, and I'll give you concrete strategies for restructuring your role around what you do best. In the coming weeks and months, we're going to cover values in depth. We're going to go more into meeting design and facilitation techniques, and we're going to tackle prioritization systems that actually work. So share this episode with a friend or a team member who could use some encouragement, and head on over to Apple Podcasts or Spotify to leave us a review. We deeply appreciate your support. Until next time, go lead the way. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. To learn more about my services and for lots of free resources and additional tools to enrich your journey, visit my website and subscribe to my newsletter at clairelaughlin.com. If you have a question about leadership, teams, or organizational culture you'd like me to address on the podcast, please reach out to me at support@clairelaughlin.com and connect with me on social channels @ClaireLaughlin Consulting. Until next time, lead the way.